Hello, everyone. I am Dwania. Welcome to our channel and welcome to our Ask the Expert segment. This is the legal edition, and it is brought to you by Goodlawyer. Their Canada-wide network of lawyers can cover all of your business needs, from corporate compliance and commercial contracts to patents and trademarks. Goodlawyer is your one-stop legal solution for founders. Click on the link in the description to learn more about their services, as well as to claim $100 in Good Lawyer credits, plus your choice of a free 15-minute legal advice session or $50 off a contract review. Our expert today is Pauline Chan, and she has over a decade of legal experience helping businesses of all sizes, from sole proprietors to multinational corporations. She also has experience owning and running her own bar fitness studio, giving her firsthand experience of what it takes to help your business succeed. Now, before we dive into anything, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell as well so that you can, get all the notifications when we have other awesome videos. And remember to share it with your friends because we don't like to be selfish, okay? Now, welcome, Pauline.
Hi, Joania. Thanks so much for having me. I am a lawyer in residence for Goodlawyer, where I help them build up access to legal help for small founders like yourselves, and also help build access to the profession for marginalized lawyers. I am also a lawyer who practices on the platform, and so I guess I am your resident expert for today.
Yes, our resident expert. And our resident expert, we already have some videos that we did. If you did not watch them, you want to go back because you want to get a good start on the foundation of, what do business lawyers do? Why do you need a lawyer? We talked about contracts. We talked about partnership agreements. We did it all. All right. But today, let's start out with this question. Why is it important to have written employment agreements?
Dwania, it is very important to have written employment agreements because you know what? You have an agreement with your employees, whether or not it is written. So I think we all know that situation where you verbally discuss something with somebody, and then they come back and say, well, this is what I thought you said. And you say, no, that's not what I said. This is actually what I said. Well, that's not what you meant. Well, no, but that is what I meant. And then here goes the she said, he said, they said. Nobody knows where the truth is. Written employment agreements are the evidence of what was discussed, what was agreed. Often, I think it's clear to most business owners, I would think, that these misunderstandings happen. And sometimes it is obviously on purpose. I would like to think that's less common. More common, so it's just that there's misunderstanding. Whether it happened, they can't remember, they didn't take notes, whatever it is, get it written down. You have that agreement anyway, even if it's verbal. That's not in your favor. That's not black and white. Putting it in paper is as black and white as you can get it. There will still be times when it's not written properly. So then there will be situations where, what did you mean by that? That's not what I meant. That is what I meant. So there's still interpretation issues, but you've limited the interpretation of it to what is on the paper. So there's none of this, well, you said this, you promised me that this was my benefit, this was my pay, whatever it is. No, I didn't. I didn't say that. You misunderstood me. Get it on paper. Get it in paper.
Oh my gosh, get it all on paper.
Yes. I mean, to be friendly to the trees, I'm going to say on digital paper. So, you're right. Not real printed paper.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. What are some key legal considerations when hiring?
So really, right to start off the bat, I would say, I think everybody is generally aware that we have legislation, human rights legislation that governs in all of the provinces and federally that says that we do not discriminate. And in every one of these areas, provinces or federally, they list out the grounds for what you should not discriminate based on. These grounds are somewhat different, but for the most part, we cover the ones that you would expect to see: age, race, family status, whatever it might be, gender expression, gender identity. All of those things are covered. So when you are hiring, there's always going to be some processes and procedures that you kind of want to build in from an HR sort of business perspective so that you aren't discriminating right off the bat simply by getting those resumes. Maybe you read the name, maybe whatever it is, you want to be careful to avoid those situations where you are accidentally discriminating or discriminating on purpose, hopefully not. So to start with, that's one of the major ones I would say. Another thing that I think is very common is that when you hire people, you're always going to want to ask for, say, references. Depending on the position, you may want to also say, well, what are the qualifications required for this position? And I need to see proof of those qualifications before I can hire, right? Whether it's a certification or if it's just a general degree or diploma or certificate, whatever it is, you want to see those things. Maybe depending on what you're doing, you may want to understand about criminal records. If there's a criminal record, maybe you might need some kind of a credit check, depending on what the position again is. It may be important for you to understand the person's credit check history. All of these things. Oh, and another important one, immigration status. So if somebody has a work permit or maybe they're a student or whatever it may be, you may want to see copies of those documents and understand that this person is qualified to work in Canada. So all of these things amount to, they're important things to look into at the time of hiring. But also, not only do you want to look into it, but it needs to be reflected in the language you use when you're talking to somebody about the employment process. It needs to be reflected in the documents. So if I'm at the point where I'm about to hire someone, I'm going to give them an offer. I'm really excited to bring them on. But now I just need to be sure all of the things I just talked about, reference checks, certifications, immigration status, background check, whether it's a criminal maybe or credit check or something like that, it needs to go into the document so that the person understands I am offering you, but I'm offering you conditional on you meeting these different requirements, providing me supporting documentation, me being able to look for things, look for things in certain databases, whatever it is, you need to have that permission up front. And you need to have the understanding there that if I look into this information and I find something that is not going to work for me, for the business, I'm going to pull that offer back. You can do that, but you need very specific language and a specific sort of understanding around that situation with the potential hiree before you get there.
Speaking of that, what are the rules around background checks?
Right. So I would say very basically, you always want to be doing these things before you hire them or at the time of hire, as I said, in a conditional offer, for example. Once you get into having hired the person and now you want to ask for those things, there's dangers, unfortunately, of it looking as if this person has been wrongfully dismissed. If you are like, oh, well, actually, so you've been working for me for this long period of time, but now I've decided I want criminal checks, or simply I forgot to ask for it, so now I'm going to ask for it. And then you get this information back, it's not favorable. Now you have to find a way to terminate the employee. Unfortunately, terminations are one of those situations that in business law, in employment law, is fraught with risk. There's a lot of risk there. Personally, I think that it can be easily managed, or a portion of it can be easily managed if you have the help of an expert.
Yeah, and saying you forgot to ask for a check kind of will bring up a lot of red flags for someone who's new, because they'll be thinking, did I do something that makes you feel you need to have a check now? And maybe I should ask other employees if they've ever had a check, because now it feels personal. So if
For
you
sure.
have a process, you need to make sure you check all those boxes.
Yeah, for sure. I think it brings up, unfortunately, like you said, on the business side, it's a morale issue, right? For your employee, even if you're not doing it specifically to them, and then the moment they're talking to the other employees, now, unfortunately, that morale issue is being spread to others when really it was probably unintentional. So again, having your ducks in a row before you hire, getting that employment agreement ready, getting your process ready, understanding what checks you need, why you need them. It's not across the board, maybe it's just some for some employees, and others it doesn't matter.
And that was going to be a follow-up question, because, let's say you have interns versus contractors versus full-time hires, and maybe some in office and some remotely. the agreement will be different for each, or the hiring process or what's required could be different for each.
Yes, absolutely. I would even say so between employees and contractors, very, very different agreements. And this is a very big issue for employment law, is that if you misclassify your employees contractors versus employees versus contractors, that is actually can be significant liability for you as a business. You never want the CRA coming to knock on your door to say that you've misclassified, because now you owe money. And nobody likes to hear from the CRA unless it's for, here's your tax information and here's some refunds.
Gimme.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We covered a lot today. We just did. Yes, we did. Really, everyone, if you want your question answered, make sure you submit your questions in the comments or in the link in the description. If you have any financial, accounting, or grant related questions, you can submit them in the link in the description as well, because we will have other experts on answering your questions. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts on the segment. Special thank you to our segment sponsor, Goodlawyer. Click the link in the description to learn more about them. And thank you to our expert, Pauline Chan. We'll catch you in the next video.